You are a target. Whether you like it or not, one of the fundamental principles of cybersecurity when it comes to protecting you, your family, and your business is recognizing the fact that you are a target. This might seem fundamental, but the reality is most people don't understand how the cyber criminals work. The most common thing I hear when I talk to people is, Eric, you don't understand. I'm not important enough for anyone to target me. I don't have enough money. I don't have a high-profile job. I just blend in with everyone else, and therefore nobody is going to target me. Now, in the physical world, that might make sense. If you look at physical crime, usually they target high net worth individuals. But let me let you in to the mind of the criminal. Let me let you into the mind of the cyber criminal. Because cyber criminals are different animals. And here's why. In the physical world, people that commit physical crimes, the people that rob a bank at gunpoint or steal from a store, is typically, what's a nice way of putting it? The lower IQ range. They're not typically the best and the brightest. None of us would typically think it's a good idea of going into a bank with a gun. The reality is, it doesn't end well. Most bank robbers get injured or shot within 24 hours of the crime. It's not a high payoff crime. People that rob banks at gunpoint are desperate individuals. They are individuals who must get money to help their family or to save something or to support an addiction. I'm not supporting or criticizing, but the reality is some people that steal are doing it because their family is starving. But the reality is they're desperate people. And when you're desperate, you don't think rational. And when you don't think rational, you typically get caught. That's why if you watch some of these shows like America's Stupidest Criminals, they do silly things, right? One of my funniest, not funny, but funny example is somebody goes in to rob a bank at gunpoint with a mask on. And they go up to the teller and go, "Give me all your money." The teller says, "In order to open the drawer, I need to enter an account number so the system will open the drawer. Otherwise, I can't open the drawer. I just can't do it." And this person, because they're not thinking rational and they're desperate, they give the teller their driver's license. And they leave the bank. And guess what? The police now have the name and address of the robber. So this is what most of us are accustomed to. We're accustomed to physical thieves, physical attacks, physical bank robbers, and they don't typically target you. But let me let you into the world of the cyber criminal. These are smart, well-educated people that are running a business. Their business just happens to be illicit activity. Their business just happens to be causing harm and damage to you. But these are smart individuals. Many of them have gone to business school. They are running a business. It is not a desperate individual. It is a creative business person that has decided that exploiting you is their business. They have no morals, they have no ethics, and they target people that don't think they're a target. because you're easy prey. Let me ask you a question. If I'm running a business where I'm targeting individuals and I go after a billionaire, I have several billionaires as my clients. I do what's called cyber bodyguard protection, where I help them protect them online. I will tell you, a billionaire has a team of people focusing on protecting them. So if I'm a cyber criminal and I'm going after a billionaire's bank account, good luck. Because there's 7 Erics that are monitoring their bank accounts. They are tracking, they are monitoring. They have a team of people that are waiting for the cyber criminal and to stop and prevent them from doing it. So good luck. It is hard, it is difficult, and it is rarely successful. Let me ask you a question. How many people do you have on your cybersecurity team? Well, guess what? That changes. Because you could have me on your team. You could have me giving you advice, calling in plays on your helmet, and doing audibles so you can stay one step ahead. But before watching this video or listening to me or hiring me, you have nobody on your team. So if I'm a cyber criminal and I want $1 million, I have 2 options. Option 1, target a billionaire and steal $1 million from one individual. Hard, difficult, probably take 8 to 9 months, if I'm even successful. Or option 2, target 1 million people and steal $1 from each of them. Quick, easy, successful, and then I repeat over and over again. That is why cybercrime is a $1 billion industry. They're not taking $1 million from one person. They're taking $1, $5, $10, $15, $20 from you. And once again, some of you, that's a lot of money. Other of you, it's not, but here's the reality. If I go in and I take $20 from you and you don't notice, what am I going to do in a week? Take another 20 and another. And guess what? That 20 adds up to 100. That 100 adds up to 1,000. That 1,000 adds up to 10,000. And at some point, it's painful. And the reality is, it's not their money. It's your money. And the same thing with identity theft. Identity theft is even worse. Because if I steal $20 from your bank account, you can replace it. Depending on how they did it and who's at fault, you might get covered by the bank or insurance, or you can work harder, but that's replaceable. For most people, a small amount of money is not going to impact their lives for the next 20 years. But what if I steal your identity? You only have one identity, my friend. There's only one of you. There's only one fingerprint. There's only one social security number. If I go in and I steal your identity, that haunts you for the rest of your life. That haunts you for the next 15, 20, or 30 years. So this is a serious problem that you need to be aware of. And you need to recognize you are a target, and cybersecurity is your responsibility. And I've been doing this for 30 years, and I can give you actionable steps that you can take to fix this problem. And the reason why I am being so aggressive in this area is because it has hit home. They always have the phrase that the mechanic has the worst car, or the shoemaker's kids have no shoes. To be honest, little ashamed of what I'm about to tell you. But we need to be open and vulnerable and tell the truth. But I'm Mr. Cybersecurity. If you want to be correct, I'm Dr. Cybersecurity. I'm Dr. Eric Cole. I'm taking on the role of America's cybersecurity czar because somebody needs to step up and fix this problem. But I assumed that everybody knew. I assumed that if somebody called you on the phone and said they worked for a reputable company, they worked for your ISP or they worked for your e-commerce, and they said, hey, we're just updating your account information and we want to verify information. Can you give us your name and address? And oh, by the way, to make sure it's you, can you give us your social security and your bank account info? To me, that is common sense. Scream and run. If a stranger calls you on the phone or sends you an email asking for your bank account, you don't give it. Common knowledge. Well, guess what? A few months ago, working and get a text from my mother-in-law. Love her dearly. Amazing woman. 79 years old. She's like, call me. And I call her. And she's in tears. It took 5 minutes for me to calm her down, to get a word out. And essentially, she was scammed. She got an email. She filled out a form, called the information, and gave them her bank account info, her password, her social security number. And I'm sitting there and going, Eric, how could this happen? This is somebody in your inner circle. This is one of the 10 most important people in my life. And I never talked to them about basic cyber hygiene. I never talked to them about cybersecurity because I assumed they knew. $30,000 later. We're now still dealing with this problem 3 months later. And it'll probably, when it's all said and done, it'll probably have cost hundreds of hours of time, her time and my time, and hoping we can get most of the money back, but there'll still be probably several $1,000s of impact and damage. If it could happen to my family, it can happen to yours. And that's why I'm now taking it seriously, because I thought I was doing enough. I thought people were aware and knew what was going on, and the reality is it's not. So we need to work together. We need to all grab hands, unite against this vicious cyber criminal network that's targeting us, and realize we are the only solution. Because here's why. Law enforcement is in an unfortunate position. Do you realize most of these cyber criminals are doing these attacks from countries where it's not illegal to hack outside the country and there's no extradition treaty? We know where these attackers are. It's funny. It's not funny. I use that word loosely. It's funny in a not funny sense. When I go over to Russia, do you know how many dinner invites I get from cyber criminals? With like, Eric, we respect what you're doing on the defense side. We respect how you're tracking us and making our jobs even more difficult. We'd like to take you to dinner. And here's the reality. In Russia, they're not breaking any laws because they're not hacking within the country. Hacking outside the country, there's a loophole in their laws that makes it not illegal. And there's no extradition treaty. So you sit here and have the amazing people in law enforcement knowing where the criminals are. They know their address, they know their name, and they know they're hurting Americans. and there's nothing they can do. So part of my job is to get a global law passed on cybersecurity. These regional, country-based laws worked in a physical world, but we're not in a physical world anymore. We are now in a digital world, but guess what? It's one world. Countries don't exist anymore. When you surf the internet, do you realize most of the time you're going outside the US boundaries and you have no clue because there are no boundaries. So there is a lot of work that has to be done, but I need your help. I need you to recognize that you are a target, recognize that cybersecurity is your responsibility, and recognize that you need to engage. And the best way to engage is to work with people like me. I'm putting out content. I have books. I have information that gives you details, but I can't force you to read it. I can't force you to apply. But what I can do is raise your awareness, hoping that you realize what happened to my mother-in-law can happen to you. And we need to all work together to tackle this problem.